So you have a teenager and you want what's best for them, but sometimes you just don't know what to do. I mean, we've all been there, right? Well, welcome to How to Be the Parent Your Teenager Needs You to Be, where with each episode we explore the topics, the issues, the concerns, and the challenges that you face as a parent with a teenager. If your goal is to empower your teenager to be their absolute best and to bring that peace, joy, warmth, and love back into your home, then you've come to the right place. Well, today in this episode, this is week 2 of our 6-week challenge around no blaming, no justifying, and no complaining. So let's check it out. Well, hello again, everyone. My name is Jim White, and I'm an author, coach, and the founder of the Family Enrichment Academy. And in today's episode, we're going to be going through week 2 of our 6-week challenge around no blaming, no complaining, and no justifying. Now, before we jump into a couple of insights for today, I did want to touch on a couple of items. First of all, on behalf of your teenager, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your commitment to being a better parent. I mean, having a growth mindset is just going to be critical to getting through these teenage years. In fact, that growth mindset is one of the fundamental elements of an FEA hero, or a Family Enrichment Academy hero. Now, if you're not familiar with our community, be sure to check out our introductory episode, which is episode 1 of this podcast. Now, the second thing I wanted to touch on is I do have a free resource for you. One of the most common questions I get is that people will say, what's the secret to getting my teenager to open up and talk more? Well, to be quite honest, it's about asking better questions. And so this free resource I have 10 questions you should never ask your teenager. I mean, think of these as like the conversation killers. And then I also have 10 great questions. These are the conversation starters. So there's a link in the show notes. You can click on that link and you can download that free resource. So let's move on to our topic for today. Again, this is week 2 of our 6-week challenge that I put this up a week or so ago and said, hey, let's see if we can position ourselves for 2023 by going for the next 6 weeks and really being mindful and aware of when we're complaining, blaming, or justifying. And I will say that the end goal or the intention here is to be able to catch ourselves and maybe shift that mindset. And what I have found is one of the key factors to being able to make that shift, or where I like to shift my focus, is to 3 other attributes. That is forgiveness, gratitude, and compassion. So if you catch yourself complaining, blaming, or justifying, that's what we want to kind of create that pause and see if we can shift our attention to those love-based attributes. And again, the whole premise here is to make that move from being more fear-based in a mindset to a more love-based mindset. And again, I found that works best if we can focus on compassion, gratitude, and forgiveness. Those are 3 great things to focus on. So, as I mentioned last week, and I'm going to try to do this each week as well, and I invite you to really think about, try to catch yourself in these situations, but I thought I'd share 3 that happened for me over the last week or so. So the first one I wanted to mention was I do morning reading, and I was doing some reading, and during this reading I had read about the importance of teenagers to get some physical activity. It's just an important part of their overall development, and sometimes they're kind of sedentary, especially when we talk about social media and screen time, that sort of thing. So anyway, it just kind of struck me, okay, this is an important part of their journey, right? Well, I got in the car and then I was heading to an appointment after that, and as I was driving, I saw a teenager riding a bike to school. I say riding in loose sense because they were on one of those electric bikes and they weren't pedaling. They were just moving right along because it was one of those electric bikes. And what I did was I caught myself kind of complaining. I was complaining about the teenager not getting that physical activity because again, I had just read about that. It was like, what's wrong with them? They need to be doing some exercise and actually pedaling the bike rather than just, taking advantage of that technology. And I actually caught myself a little bit blaming the technology itself. So that was an example, again, a simple example where I caught myself this week kind of shifting into that blame mode. Now the second one, and this is, again, it's a simple thing, but it happens from time to time. I had one day this week where my alarm went off, and I basically shut it off and stayed in bed. And I justified not getting up when the alarm went off because I had stayed up a little later than normal the night before. And it's like, oh yeah, I stayed up later, I need to sleep a little bit more. So again, it was a justification of my action of not doing what I said, which was to get up when the alarm went off. So again, another simple example. And then the third one I wanted to point out is my wife and I were talking this week, and I had a situation with my business with my coaching practice, where somebody had said they were going to send me some information and they hadn't done it. And so I found myself in this place kind of complaining about the fact that they hadn't done it, and complaining about that person not doing what they said they were going to do. So those were my 3 examples for the week. And again, I realize these are kind of simple and sort of straightforward examples, but it's just important that we catch ourselves. And again, this is about the exercise of being aware, catching ourselves, then creating a pause and seeing if we can make that shift then into a more love-based mindset. And the reason why this is so important is because when you can make that shift, think about this, if you're the complaining, justifying, or blaming does no good in moving any of those situations forward, right? And it's only when you can shift that mindset and get more love-based, then you're in a position to make a difference and maybe move those situations forward. So that's the reason we're doing this, and it's just about practice and getting in that habit. So hopefully you had a good week as well and caught yourself. I mean, we're probably always going to be doing that, but it's a matter of trying to shift to where we do it less and less by being more aware of the complaining, blaming, and justifying. So I'd love to hear if you had some success this week or caught yourself a few times as well. So that wraps up today's episode, and we're going to, again, I'll revisit this next week and I'll see how it goes for me in the next week and maybe have a few more insights in week 3 as well. So again, before we sign off today, I just want to mention I do have that free resource for you. It's those 10 questions that are the 10 questions, first of all, that you should never ask your teenager, the conversation killers. And then I also have those 10 great questions, the conversation starters. So be sure to click that link and download that free resource. As always, it's truly an honor to be able to serve you as you move along your parenting journey and as you act as the hero for your family, the one taking a stand for love. And it is just, again, it's truly an honor to be able to serve and support you as you move along that journey. So as we sign off, until next time, remember, a change in perspective changes everything.